All right, it's Sunday, March 29, 2026, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Champaign, Illinois. You're watching Co-op for Two. You're joining me for our regularly scheduled Sunday afternoon live stream playthrough of a play-by-mail game. In this case, Letters from a Ghost Hunter, letter number 8 of 12. We are in the back end of this game, hunting down a serial killer, a missing person, and some supernatural, Lovecraftian possible demon that lives forever. We're not sure. Let me check in with the chat, see how everyone is doing. Anna is joining us today. I want to talk to Anna at some point about her multiple cases she's been writing for New York Noir. We are ramping up the final touches of New York Noir, a real team effort here. Rulebook is starting to look nice. The directories are getting a little fine-tuning. A whole bunch of people are helping. And we're going to start playing New York Noir cases on this channel. We've scheduled the first case by Martinez Conradi on this coming weekend. And then we're going to start playing through a bunch more. If you're curious about the game, Anna actually wrote a trilogy of cases and some extra cases. We played one of them already on the channel, and we really liked it quite a bit. It was called The Rookie. And it's about time we started getting to the remainder of the cases in that trilogy from Anna. I think I'm going to print out a new set of directories so we can play them with the printed version. I have gone, so what I want to talk to Anna about on the Discord is I have gone and tweaked up just a minor, very minor things for the new version 6 directories, but let's talk and make sure your cases all work well for version 2, and then we'll get them on the schedule. All right, what else is there to talk about? While I'm waiting for you guys to tell me about any projects you've been working on, I'll just update you on a couple of things. Yesterday, Saturday afternoon, we played the 9th session in a board game themed puzzle game called Unboxed. It's behind me on the shelf there, and I am loving that game. That's going to be like, I've got a couple of games that I like to think of as sort of perfect board game gifts. Fox in the Forest, a little 2-player competitive card game, is one. That's going to be one of my go-to puzzle games because it's so cool and so different. And yesterday was the first game that we sort of missed on. We missed a couple of key elements and hurt a little bit, but it's always good when a game challenges you. We've got one more game in that to play, which we'll play next week. If you are enjoying this 12-part Letters from a Ghost Hunter series from Deadbolt Mystery Society, you should know that they've announced 2 more in the works. One is called Letters from a Serial Killer. Again, about $120 for 10 letters, $12 a letter. That is pretty steep. And I hope you will join me in thanking the Patreon members, supporters of this channel. It's the Patreon supporters that make it possible to bring these more expensive games to the channel. And with their help, I did back the next series, Letters from a Serial Killer. Although I think we'll probably, this one we're playing as they come in. I think we need to take a little bit of a break before we start the next one and catch up on our Dear Holmes, because I've got a stack of the Dear Holmes letters piling up. So I think we'll play a couple of those first before we jump into the next one. And then Deadbolt Mystery Society just sent out word that they are announcing another 12-part play-by-mail game called Letters from a Game Master. Something storyline revolving around I guess a game like Dungeons and Dragons. I have not backed that one yet. I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned with where they're going here. Deadbolt Mystery Society has proven to be very consistent and high-quality narrative puzzle games, one of the best at combining narrative and puzzle. And they have produced already several dozen of their little boxes that are sort of longish experiences. And they're already on a schedule where they're producing these at a pace that I don't know how they're keeping up with the quality. But this 12-part Letters from a Ghost Hunter has been a little uneven. And I think they might be starting to stretch themselves a bit thin. And I really think maybe they should slow down a little bit. At $12 a letter, these are quite expensive, and content-wise, I think you might be better off buying the standalone boxes. I like this long form, but I think they should slow down a bit and maybe work on trying to make these a little better polished, a little better quality. You can watch my complaints as we've been playing, but it's still very engaging, and I do like these long-form games. So that's that. And we also played one of the new Hunt a Killer boxes on Friday night or Saturday night. I can't remember now. Maybe Friday night. It was Rideshare Homicide, their latest little standalone box. Didn't love it. Did not love it. one of the weaker elements. But during that live stream, I said that I might try to shift away a little bit from the audience choice games and maybe start playing some of the more esoteric, unusual mystery games that have been piling up that I've sort of been saving for no reason. So if you want to help me decide what games to play, stop by the Board Game Geek Guild for this channel. There's a link to that on this YouTube page, as well as a link to the Discord. And I would welcome you to join our Discord. Lots of active discussions going there at all times. Rob says, I miss Dear Homes. Rob has been helping me organize all the missing letters and contact Dear Homes, so we're about to catch up with all our Dear Homes, so we have lots to choose from. Let's see. Marlene says, I hope we mix things up. The puzzles are okay, not as much deductions as the home games. Yes, I agree. I think maybe it's time for us to start playing. We've got a couple Sherlock Holmes Consulting detective cases, the Mansion Murders cases to play through. We've got some old cases behind me on the wall. There's two here, little small indie Sherlock Holmes style cold case games, as well as Emerald Echoes, which is a brand new narrative puzzle game by the same person who made the Morrison Game Factory that we really liked. So lots to catch up on. What else should we talk about? Jonathan Warner and is sometimes Isara, all members of the channel, have been playing occasionally, or at least once a week, late night, Etherfields, which is a cooperative, surrealistic exploration fighting game, a little bit like Seven Citadel, and it's got its hooks in me, so we'll be playing that again on Monday if you want to join for that. Anything else to talk about? Yesterday, they had their grand exhibition of the local town board game design competition run by a group called Kudo Plays. If you'll remember, I entered New York Noir in that competition a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago. This year, one of the viewers on the channel who lives nearby, Ryan, who goes by the name in YouTube George Costanza or Sherm, entered a game called Groundbound that did very well in the competition, but there were some quite impressive entries this year. It is always a joy to go to see the people who are trying board game design for the first time and showing off their games and talking about their games and talking with them about their game designs. It's a very friendly group here, very well run, and in addition to everything they do to run this little yearly game design contest, they are just a very good group of people for scheduling regular meetups where people can play test games. If you are considering designing a game, you really should try to find a group like this. If you're lucky enough to have a game design community in your area, I think you might not realize, maybe Ryan can talk about this on the Discord at some point or post about this, but you may not realize how fulfilling it is to have people that you meet up with regularly to show off the progress, who will be encouraging you, who want you to do well, and can give you feedback on your game design. It's almost like, you could almost say that at the end of it, you're going to throw your game design into the trash and just enjoy the year-long process of working on it and talking to people about it and sharing the experience. I think that's how useful, how positive the experience can be. anything else to talk about before we get started today? No other projects anyone wants to talk about? Let me talk first. This is our Sundays. We can take our time here and talk for a little bit. There's a storyline going on on the channel Rob's Tabletop World. So you've heard me talk about Rob Oren before. Rob Oren is one of these old school board game YouTubers. And I think that is the best way to think about these things. It's like, it's real life, but it's like a storyline. And Rob Oren is really kind of a bullshitter. And his whole shtick is he's just going to give it to you straight. But his whole, he's a huge fan of the wrestling, and it's kind of like he's putting on a show. It's half the time he's fooling himself, but there's like a storyline. It's like an arc. Every year he threatens to quit. He's going to quit YouTube. This is not a fictional planned storyline. This is him, he's playing the long game. This is sort of, if you like Tim Heidecker and On Cinema at the Cinema, which I love that humor, but this is not that, but it reads like that. Anyway, so lately he's discovered AI, and now he's in a cycle where the channel is doing great and growing viewers, and it's never going to end, and he's never going to stop. And he's about to get high-speed internet, so he's about to start doing the playthroughs that he's been promising for a year. Each week, next week, he's going to do a live playthrough, but it never happens. Instead, there's always the auctions, and then he's been promising he's about to release a video looking behind the scenes at what horrible stuff has gone on at Miniature Market, and how he's not in the drama, but every video is about the drama. It's like a train wreck, but I can't stop watching. You have to, it's not going to be for everyone. It's sort of the long, slow, I don't know how to explain it. It's a little bit like On Cinema at the Cinema, watching that channel. All right, so let's get into today's session of Letters from a Ghost Hunter. So, where did we leave off? In our last letter, Nancy, the daughter, I don't want to cut into the thing. Okay, Nancy, the daughter our daughter who's gone missing in this sanatorium, she said she's going to have to stop communicating the way she normally does with us, so things might change a little bit. She's going to start using her cipher, I think. Oh, that's weird. As you know, we're trying to track down this serial killer called TikTok, and we don't know how much supernatural is involved, but clearly there is quite a bit of supernatural in this world. We have, I guess our mystery is sort of split into multiple parts. On one hand, we've got this serial killer. Now, we have learned that the serial killer, we think, is the son or daughter, I guess the child of this guy Morris Cook, who's in a coma. And that's what they're using leverage to get the serial killer to kill people who are interfering in the pharmaceutical drug trials and illegal stuff that they're doing on this drug called Neuroquel, which can help people in a coma, something like that. So they're doing illegal stuff at this sanatorium, testing this drug, and So there's some sort of conspiracy, pharmaceutical conspiracy. But when we look into the discussions that this pharmaceutical people are having about this drug Neuroquel, the pharmaceutical company is like Black Spire something pharmaceuticals, but they're also having these discussions about like the Black Spire and the endless eons of time and in the afterlife. So it's like some sort of Lovecraftian demon world that these pharmaceuticals people are involved in while they're manipulating this serial killer. And at the heart of all this, our daughter Nancy is missing. And she went to go investigate this. Now, there's two more interesting twists that they have thrown into this game. The first one is that the guy we've sent, or who has nominated himself to go investigate this, that's important. We didn't send him. He's our old friend, and he is investigating this. He's the supernatural guy, Elijah, who works for Ghostrid and talks to the supernatural people. He's discovered these notes from Nancy, but he's also discovered someone is also there with him in real life, like stalking him. So he's in a bit of danger. But there's another element that's this little twist, which is that he's writing to us, hoping to find our daughter. And he's just, the last couple of letters, he's like, there are things you haven't told me. And he's saying, you know, it was your wife that was committed here because she was having psychological problems. She made this list for our daughter Nancy about people possibly trying to kill her or maybe being the serial killer. And in the last letter, he said, I just discovered something else you didn't tell me, which is that you hired some other supernatural psychic a couple years ago to work this place and try to uncover information. And he's like, what else aren't you telling me? And why haven't you told me this other stuff? So there is a question about, like, why are we not telling this guy these things? That makes me nervous. Like, could we be a bad guy here? Well, this is, I think the Neuroquel is supposed to heal brain damage, and the head of the company is Morris Cook. Ah, yeah, okay, so Morris Cook, who's the father of the serial killer, is the CEO of this company, Black Spire, and he got into a crash, would send him into a coma or brain damage, whatever. Melissa says, I think he may be the head of their cult, which I'm hoping we now don't belong to. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so let us take a look at our next letter. There's very little in this next letter. Oh, okay. All right, let's read our letter for today. Week number 8. I saw the person who's here in the sanatorium with me. Couldn't tell if they were male or female, but I saw them coming down a corridor. They obviously didn't know I was there. When they saw me, they took off. I yelled at them to stop, but they were long gone by the time I got to where they were. Never mind that all 4 of my tires are flat and my cell phone won't make outgoing calls. I have a plan to unmask whoever this is and lure them to me. One of my immediate goals involves trying to determine what this thing that looks like a boy that everyone calls Billy really is, and use the information the stalk team provided to appease him. Does someone want to remind me what we know about this Billy thing? I don't remember this. He says, I'm hopeful if I can do that, he will release whatever hold he has on my tech. Now that I've had a little time to think about it, I have an idea about what he might be. If that's true, it will explain a lot of my technical difficulties. But I still need to figure out what to give him to make him stop. That will require a list of everything edible I brought with me that I still have on hand. I have a copy on hand, but there's something strange about the list. I wrote the list down randomly, but something keeps rewriting the list. Maybe it's Billy the Kid. Maybe it's something else, although my money is on Billy. But why would he rewrite the list of items I brought in? We were told about looking for like a vending machine of snacks, like some spirit that likes snacks is interfering with this guy's ability to communicate. And in our last letter, we were told to keep our eye open for that. He says, why would it rewrite the list of items I brought in? It makes no sense. The last copy that was rewritten was done on the back of an old Vailwood poster. I'm sending a copy of that, and yes, I know it's a ridiculous list. Don't judge me for my junk food tastes. I knew I was going to be here for 3 months. A guy needs fuel to perform. Then there's the issue of Nancy's last note. She hinted she wouldn't be leaving as many notes, or at least not in the way she's been leaving them. Whatever was happening 5 years ago when she was investigating Vailwood was obviously starting to heat up. Fortunately, I think I know where she went next, even though she didn't leave a clue about that. I analyzed the places we've been so far and realized that her investigations went in the exact order that all of the locations at Vailwood are listed on the brochure. I don't know if she planned it that way or not, but it seems too coincidental not to be the case. So based on that, we're going to check out the nurse's station next. I've already taken a peek at what all is in that room, and there's an eye chart that I found to be particularly fascinating. I'm pretty sure she left it for us. Why do I think that, you might ask? The font, obviously, and the handwriting. Am I going to have to write an OBS plugin for dog barking? Is that what's going to happen? When I pulled the eye chart off the wall, a scratch-off card fell out. I have to assume Nancy put that there as well. For what purpose? I honestly don't know. I guess I will have to scratch it off and see what's underneath. At this point, I've been here 2 months. 1 month left to go. That's how long we've been playing this. I think this snowball is about to pick up speed and become an avalanche of information. Going to find out what happened to Nancy. I just feel it. I'm also going to unmask TikTok and bring him or her to justice. That is my goal. Okay, a little bit of foreshadowing. Tell us what we can expect and anticipate. I like it. We're going to find out what happened to Nancy. On our last letter, we kept holding out hope that Nancy's going to be alive. At our last letter, it seemed to suggest that Nancy was communicating with our ghost person, meaning she would have been dead. So she may be dead, but maybe we can bring her spirit to rest. All right, so remember that we block off the information. We have chosen to block off information about this week's contents, which reads like a hint. Here is his reminder of stuff we should have already solved. Wilhelm Wick's notes. I'm still trying to understand why I was never told about another paranormal investigator being invited by you to investigate Vailwood. Maybe it slipped your mind. In any case, the facts Wick presents about the ghosts allows us to place each victim in the correct room if we read each of the facts carefully. We solved that. Wristband. This involves finding the correct number in each sequence, using them all together to open the lab door. We did that. Stalk. That's the supernatural group that features in some Deadbolt Mystery Society boxes. Good old Mikey always has to make things overly complicated. In this case, I just needed to stack the rows of letters in such a way that I could read them top to bottom, from left to right. Make some sense of the result. Mikey set up a web page for me to help me out. How thoughtful. Okay, so we did all that. All right, let's look at what's in today's message. We've got another postcard part of our puzzle. We've gotten a whole bunch of these. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we expect one more. And then we will try to assemble them. And here are our some of our suspects. All right, this is the scratch off that I guess we are going to physically have to scratch off? Nothing written on it. That's weird. Scratch to win. And then we've got a puzzle of some sort. It looks like an eye chart. Look under what and where. Okay, so this feels like a puzzle that we're going to have to solve in order to enter it here. Look under what and where. Probably a standalone puzzle, but we don't know yet. And then he said something was written on the back of a poster. What did he say was written on the back of a poster? Pull the eye chart off the wall. The scratch card fell out. Okay, so these may go together. These may go together. Where was the mention about the poster? The list of his junk food. Last copy that was rewritten was done on the back of an old Vailwood poster. I'm sending a copy of that, and it's a ridiculous list. Okay. So here is this poster for Vailwood Sanatorium. Your path to good mental health, caring professional staff, therapy activities, rest and relaxation. Heal, rejuvenate, and thrive. And on the back of it is a list that he says he's been writing the list, and the spirit Billy has been changing the order. Okay, so you can see right here, A through Z. So this looks like maybe a little, some sort of code. This is its own puzzle, and the order matters. What are we supposed to do when we scan this? So this is going to let us communicate with Billy, some spirit that likes snacks, but what is... I guess we can scan this and find out what it wants from us, like what format is this answer going to be in. But it's odd because this looks like it would be telling us a code, but then we'd need another document to use the code on. Like somehow cheddar and sour cream potato chips would be a letter that would be associated, swapped with the A. But it's obviously not the first letter because we got a whole bunch of C's. But even if we could come up with a substitution cipher, what do we run it on? So maybe we'll scan that and find out that probably doesn't go with this. Although you could try. Not much contents here, physical contents. But Melissa says, hey, you need the information from the stock website from last week. The info was about Billy was on that website. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see if we saved that information on our... I mean, sure, we did save that information. Okay, so here was the information from last week. Given what Anna learned, we were able to make a sort of offering to Billy based on things he liked. Chocolate, cookies, soda, sort of junk food. Okay. Required an offering of 7 items to remove his influence. Very specific order. They had to be left in. The drink always comes first, followed by anything natural. Chip, cracker comes last. Okay, so you can see how this game is going to work. This list here about the order is going to give us an order of items, which is going to spell out a word by taking the letters associated with each item. All right, so we are going to be able to do that right now, I guess. Let's bring, I guess we can take my image off the screen, but why would we do that? It seems like... All right, so we can do it like this. Let's see if we can solve this. 7 items, it says. So we're going to pick 7 items here. Specific order. The drink always comes first. So there's going to be a drink chosen from here. Could be root beer. That's it. That's the only drink here. So our first item is root beer. Unless I skipped over a drink. It could be slushy. Okay, let's see if we can get more specific. The drink comes natural. Drink comes first, natural. Chip or cracker. Chocolate can't be next to anything fruity. He despises cheese. Hates anything cold. Okay, that's why he doesn't want the smoothie, the slushy. Doesn't want anything that's baked unless it's pretzels, or fried unless it's chips. Can't resemble an animal. Typical in the middle, you have sweet, savory, and then sweet again. If you have a vending machine, raid that. Otherwise, use what we have. Okay. 7 items. We're starting with root beer. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We could use a grid if we wanted to do this systematically. Let's see if we can do it. Let's see if we can do it in a more informal way. He likes chocolate cookie soda. Okay. The next thing has to be natural. Let's just make a note here. This has to be natural. And then chip or cracker comes last. Chocolate can't be next to anything fruity. He doesn't like cheese, hates anything cold. I mean, it does seem like we probably make our life easier. Obviously, if we scan this, it would be even easier, but we'll use our overlay here. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. He hates cheeses cold. Okay, so we can get rid of the slushies, the ice cream, the cheese. Nachos with cheese dip. String cheese he doesn't like. Doesn't like cheese puffs and cheddar and sour cream potato chips. Okay. He doesn't want anything that's baked unless it's pretzels. So do we have anything baked? I mean, brownies are baked. They're not pretzels. Cupcakes are baked. They're not pretzels. Chocolate chip cookies are baked. They're not pretzels. Donuts are baked. They're not pretzels. Honey bun would be baked. That's not a pretzel. Pop-Tarts baked? I'm not sure. Funnel cake is baked. That's not pretzel. Churro would be fried. All right. And he doesn't like fried stuff unless it's chips. So he doesn't want the churros. He doesn't want the fried Oreos. Okay, what else? And he doesn't like anything that resembles an animal. So no gummy bears, no chocolate frog. All right, what else do we got? In the very middle, we have sweet, savory, and sweet again. So what's our middle? It's 3, 4, and 5. So we have a sweet, savory, and a sweet. And then here we have a chip or cracker. And we've already got our root beer. All right, so we've got most stuff ruled out here. Chocolate can't be next to anything. Fruity drink is natural. Okay, what's natural here as our candidates here? Not a candy bar, not cotton candy. Maybe a fruit roll-up. Sunflower seeds, that seems like it's natural. If I had to guess, I might guess sunflower seeds here as our natural item. Drink natural, then any sort of chip or cracker, which has to be sweet. A chip or cracker that's sweet, what would that be? Not sour cream and onion. What's gone wrong here? Something has gone wrong. Was I wrong to cross off chocolate chip cookies? I wonder if the baking stuff, I didn't get rid of stuff too aggressively. Doesn't want anything that's baked. I mean, you have to bake chocolate chip cookies, but then how do we get a sweet chip? Any sort of chip or cracker comes last. Oh, comes last. Drink, natural, and then a chip or a cracker comes last. I see. Okay, well, we'll worry about that last. But what's the middle part? Oh, the middle part is sweet, savory. Okay, so anything sweet can be here, not a chip or a cracker. So candy bar, cotton candy, maybe Pop-Tarts. What's his rule about chocolate can't be next to anything fruity? Okay, so our sweet item here could be our candy bar or our cotton candy. Those seem like our best things. I mean, Pop-Tart is also sweet. Maybe we'll stick that in there. And then it says in the middle, sweet / savory. So I'm thinking that doesn't mean sweet or savory. It's telling us something that's both sweet and savory. What would that be? What would be sweet and savory? Is that our peanut butter pretzels? Is that the only thing on our list that's sweet and savory? It's savory because of the salt and sweet because of the peanut butter? Boy, that's a stretch, but okay, let's say we put peanut butter as a working theory here. And then we need something sweet again. And what's the rule about chocolate? Chocolate can't be next to anything fruity. I'm not feeling great about this. I'm going to check in with the chat for some theories, but I am not feeling great about this. Doesn't feel right to me. Feels like something's wrong. Chocolate can't be next to anything fruity. And the last item here, 7, is a chip or a cracker. What do we know about the 6th item? We don't. Sweet or savory? Then we need something sweet here. So you could imagine that this could be the candy bar, cotton candy. Let's just try to come up with some reasonable list here and see if things go wrong. Our chip and cracker here. Chip or cracker? Some sort of chip or cracker comes last. So let's say this is the sour cream. Potato chips. Let's imagine that's last. What would go here? We've already found a place for the candy bar, the cotton candy, no fruit roll up, but we have done the pretzels, we have done the chips, we have done the sunflower seeds. Soft pretzels would be baked. He doesn't like baked unless it's pretzels, so we could still have soft pretzels. So I'm a little bit confused here why we can't have in this slot roll-ups or soft pretzels or Pop-Tarts and vice versa. Why can't we switch any of those around? Something is definitely not being incorporated here. Chocolate can't be next to anything fruity. That's fine. Okay, what are we missing here? It seems we don't have enough to constrain us. Let me see what the chat says is wrong. How are Pop-Tarts made? I believe they're baked. Play with the letters to see if that helps. That's a great idea. Okay, also I think we should get rid of Pop-Tarts and say that they are baked. So let's get rid of those. We still have an issue with this. If you had to guess, I would guess that this might be fruit roll-up. But let's play with the letters. I think that's a great idea. So we said 1 is the root beer. That is for sure a G. And then we said maybe the next one is sunflower seeds. That's the natural thing. That's an R. And then I said maybe a candy bar would be item 3. That would be an E. That's looking like a word here. Maybe an E. And then we said the peanut butter pretzels were salty and sweet. I'm not as sure about that. Those are M. Are we looking at gremlin? 5 we said was maybe the cotton candy, which was an I. But if it was a fruit roll-up instead, it would have been an L. And then if instead of fruit roll-up we swapped these two, we would get L-I. I think that seems more likely that we're spelling the word gremlin. And then what is our sour cream? And there we have it. Okay, so we actually did fairly well with our thing. It wasn't fully constrained, so we had a bunch of things that could be alternatives, but the key insight was from Melissa reminding us that we think it's probably going to spell a word. And when we did that, we could see that these two, if you swap them, would give us gremlin. Okay, so we actually have solved this. So I guess little Billy, maybe he likes the Gremlin movies or something, or he is a gremlin. Gremlin also being another word for something that interferes with electronics or a bug of some sort. So let us put this in and give Billy what he wants. Can you see the cat there? Look at that cat. All right. What food do you give Billy? Use letters, no caps, no spaces. What food do you give Billy? It says food, but we think we're just putting in the word gremlin. And we'll download it. Okay, what have we got here? Ah, Billy is a gremlin. It all makes sense now. No, do not like a gremlin in the movies. Gremlins are creatures thought to wreak havoc on mechanics and machinery and were blamed for all sorts of things. Stories about them and references to them as the causes of especially inexplicable technical and mental problems of pilots were especially popular during and after World War II. In this case, Billy was affecting my electronics. Now that I have appeased him, however, I can use the internet to provide a bit more information about our journey so far. I had planned to blog for the entire length of my stay in Valewood. That obviously hasn't been feasible, so I will go and catch up now while Billy is still happy with my offering of junk food. Go here to check out what I've posted, including solutions from all of the mysteries, ciphers, codes, and puzzles from the first 7 weeks of this investigation. So maybe this is going to make it so we don't have to comb through all of our previous letters as much. I'll post as much there as I can before Billy decides to revoke my electronics privileges. Okay, is this a clickable link? All right, let's bookmark this. Did we bookmark it? Yes. Okay. So here is Ghostrid Valewood notes. Here's our guy's notes here. So this is going to make it easier so we don't have to, I guess, scan through our letters. My intention from the beginning was to keep an online journal detailing the events of my time at Valewood Sanatorium. How could I have guessed that a gremlin would wreak havoc on my electronics and keep me from doing certain things? Uploading files to the cloud has been about all I could do. Hopefully, I've appeased Billy now, at least for a little while. I'm going to detail all of the things I've discovered during the first 7 weeks of my investigation, including additional pieces of information I have learned that may not have found its way into my letters. All right, do we click on this or do we use this? There's his blog. Okay. Load video? The heck? All right, here are the weeks, I guess. Load video. The soundtrack of today. Since I have internet for now until Billy takes it away again, I thought I'd post this song that sums up my experience here these last 2 months. Seems fitting enough. I guess. It's our game. It was just a little bit of mood setting. Let's go back. Okay, so that was just the soundtrack of today. And then there was this guy. Billy's angry with me. I've run out of root beer, which means I don't have all 7 of the necessary ingredients needed to appease. I will try. I just needed. So I just need... Sorry. What is the point of this? I've run out of root beer, which means I don't have all 7 of the necessary ingredients needed to appease. I will try to. I just need. So frustrating. Okay, I give up for now. Again, I really feel like they've gotten a little sloppy with this case. but okay, so that's not important. We've already solved that. Then we've got this AI generated piece of art, which says paper walls. I've officially been here too long. I was bored last night, decided to pretend I was one of the patients here. I wrote a poem about it. Yeah, I need a life. I get it. Anyway, if you want to see what being kept in isolation for 2 months looks like with no one to... are these blogs that we can click to get more? Yes, I see. Okay. So what? I'm supposed to click each one of these and get... So we click on this to get more of it. Billy's angry with me. I've run out of root beer, which means I don't have all 7 of the necessary ingredients needed to appease. I will try to. I just need to. So frustrating. Okay, I give up for now. What? I don't understand what the point of this is. And what the point of that formatting is. And then I guess we're meant to click this one. And then now we get a fuller entry here. Okay, here's his poem, Paper Walls. The walls whisper when the lights go low, soft like breath I almost know. They tell me secrets through the paint, things the doctors say I ain't. A clock keeps ticking in my head, even when I'm in my bed. Tick, tick, counting every thought, every memory I forgot. The nurses smile like porcelain dolls. Their footsteps echo down the halls, keys that jingle, doors that sigh, every lock another lie. I write my name 100 times. I'm in crooked words and broken rhymes, just so I know that I am real. At least that's how the pen should feel. Sometimes the shadows sit with me, quiet guests I cannot see. They never laugh and never speak, but they stay with me every week. If you read this, tell the sky, I tried to learn the reason why. My mind became a crowded room where thoughts grow tall and twist and bloom. I mean, these are being written by our investigators, so I don't see that there are any clues here. This is just supposed to give us some flavor. Week 7, mailing 7. Okay, this gremlin, I guess I click this to see the full thing. Okay, this gremlin is really starting to get on my nerves. Now it seems he's writing things for me. Awk. I don't know what else to do about this. I wish someone would leave me, something would leave me alone. He's really becoming a blank, gigantic pain in the you-know-what. This is really something. Guess I better most of it and just try to post what I need for my week 7 recap. Mikey's stock message is, I recorded these rows, was able to read this message from top to bottom, left to right. Wristband, lab, door code. Just need to figure out the next number in each sequence. I'll come back and explain more if Billy will take a nap or something. He really needs to chill out. Wilhelm Vick, shadow people on the 8th floor. Basically, I have to figure out which victim is associated with each room. Here's what I came up with. Highlight below, and there's nothing here. This is not quite functioning as it should. Clearly, something is not right about this page. There is a secret message here in these asterisks and these other words, but something's not working right about this website, or was designed with different things in mind. This gets back to my complaints about this not quite being polished. He's saying, okay, you finally going to give you access to this website and blog to recap the last 7 weeks. It's mostly empty. There's a couple entries, and this one is referring to things that look like it should be in this gap here. Like, it looks like maybe they planned on having this available earlier. This is clearly not working right the way it was originally intended, but let's just ignore all that and solve this little puzzle here. We've got interleaving words that look like it says T-A-L-K, talk, T-R-L. And then we've got asterisks. So let's do on the left, I'll put what's what's in the thing speaking. We've got TALK T, and then we have RL. This looks like talk TRL. Don't know what that. But then if you look at the asterisks, the first one here is talk. What else to do? And I wish he would leave me alone. He's really becoming a gigantic, which is GI. Pain in the you-know-what. This is really tough. GH. I better get the most of it. OST. And post what I need, and that's it. Okay, so what have we got here? Talk to the girl ghost. Okay, I will screenshot this in case we want to refer to it, but talk to the girl ghost is the blog message from letter 8. Fine. I mean, obviously we're going to talk to whoever we have to talk to. This doesn't really help us. I don't know what this is going on here. Here is what I came up with, highlight below, and then there's nothing on this page. I don't know if what we're looking at is a web browser problem or more likely a bug in their website that they haven't finished. I guess we won't worry about it. Okay, week 6. I guess we click this for week 6 mailing. We've got another little drawing that looks like AI art. My tech is starting to glitch again. I've tried 3 times to post this, keep getting kicked off the network. I have given Billy a second offering to appease him, but I can't be sure of how much more time I have. So the next couple of entries will be short ones, just the facts. I got into Jeremiah McQuinton's computer. Sticky note mentions Blackspire's nickname is the password. I remembered what I learned from that page from his private spell book. All I had to do was type in the password, which was blank, not telling us. We can't click this, right? It's not like it's... Okay, well, we know what the password is because we completed that already. The audio file obtained concerning Morris Cook's room, the string of letters confused me for a bit. The audio said the logo is the key. Eventually, I realized that the logo is made up of a V and a W. I didn't expect to learn about Morris Cook. The mystery deepens. And boy, did we learn something explosive about patient 164. On that weird story I found under the loose towel in his room, taking the first letter of every line, I obtained this information. The number associated with 164 was one we learned earlier, 1304. What we needed to make that call was... I'll expound more on my thoughts soon and start tying all of this together. All right, so these are just recapping some stuff we have figured out. Next up is week 5. I guess we're going in opposite order. Should we go to the bottom and go up? It's sort of... Okay, it's dynamically loading, so we didn't see this from the start. Here's week 1. Seems like a lot more than 7 weeks have passed. I've learned a lot since that first day of exploration. There's still much to learn. Here are my thoughts on everything I sent you in mailing 1. I don't know how much time I have bought myself with Billy. All right. So I don't know how much time I bought with Billy the Gremlin before he decides to shut my electronics down again. So I'll try to make it quick. To begin with, I found a picture of Nancy on the internet. Pretty girl. It's just nice to have a face to associate with the name. So this is our daughter, apparently. The next thing I learned is a bit more about that symbol found on the wall of patient 164's room. It's a symbol that dates back to the time of King Solomon. It was used to ward off evil spirits. So one of the orderlies has this tattooed on his arm. Used to ward off evil spirits. It was also used to empower those who sought counsel with the evil spirit. So anyone with that too either wanted protection against evil, or they wanted a little extra mojo to conspire with evil. Given what we find out about certain suspects in the following weeks, it's difficult to discern what those who had the tattoo were actually using it for. People are rarely all good or all bad. These people are no different. Frederick Leclerc, for example, coached a Little League baseball team for at-risk youth in his spare time. Sounds like a good guy to me, but we also know he was violent with at least one patient, maybe more. People are shades of gray. I'll talk more about that later. We haven't really been able to communicate and compare notes on what we discovered from the letters and documents I sent over the past few weeks. So I'll take the time here to recap what I've learned from week to week. If you've already figured all this out, it might be repetitive. Sometimes reviewing things is good. It helps the pieces of the puzzle come together a bit better. Where week 1 is concerned, here's what I've learned. Okay, this is all stuff we already know. I guess we'll just skim it. Nancy's first note contains 2 puzzles. I'll write out what the answers. He's letting me write and post on my blog. He doesn't want me to share the answers of what I found. I see. I think I can fool him by typing the answers to the puzzles in black. You can highlight the space I will indicate to see the answer. I see. It's a little spoiler thing. All right, to begin with, all right, so that wasn't a bug. It's just you have to read it. If we start by reading week 1, he's saying what he's doing, and it's a way of having spoilers. All right, so maybe I blamed it for being broken prematurely. He's just going over hints, though, but since I guess if you... it's possible a group might get to this 8th letter and not have solved stuff. So this is giving us answers to the things we already solved. I'm not sure how you would have proceeded without it. But all right. So the result gave me this. So if we wanted to, we should be able to see the answer if we highlight it. Okay. So it does work a little bit, but we don't need any of this stuff. I'm not going to read all this. We've solved all this, I think, although he says he's sprinkled in new stuff in these blog notes. So do we have to read all of this to look for it? It's like there's an apocalypse happening across the street. Okay, to begin with, the first side of her note was a series of numbered lines. These are just puzzles. Next, you have Arlo's message. He talks about the Holy Trinity, references the number 3. These are just various solutions. But he is adding new stuff here. Finally, I found an image of what one sculptor believed the true form of a gremlin to be. Definitely not a little boy. Let's not forget the EVP, distinctly female voice rattling off a list of elements on the periodic table. Remember, we solved that. Who is the girl? What's her story? This is the EVP. There's some girl ghost. How did she die? Was she a patient? I haven't answered that yet. There are cold spots all over the sanatorium. Unnaturally cold spots are located in places where they shouldn't be. I heard crying at night coming from the cemetery. Nothing is creepier than being fast asleep in an old abandoned sanatorium, waking to the sound of weeping. I don't know what to make of it. It's just one more in a list of odd occurrences. All right, that was week 1. And we read some of the higher ones, but I guess we're just going to keep reloading this page and scrolling to the bottom and then going in chronological order. Week 2. Things started coming to life. I went to the morgue. We found the spirit, the clown cipher. This is all a recap of things we've done over the last couple months. All right, well, you have to be impressed by the amount of writing went in here, and it's all AI art, clearly. Pretty clearly. I did learn a couple additional things about Angus Cartwright, the Valewood mortician that gave me the creeps. He got fired from a funeral home prior to securing the job at Valewood. His employer caught him having lunch with one of the bodies he was supposed to be preparing. According to what I learned, Cartwright had the dead guy propped up in a chair, seated at a table, dressed in his burial clothes, with his eyes pushed open to watch as Angus Cartwright devoured his bologna sandwich and rambled on about the weather, the New York Yankees, and the state of politics. The only reason Cartwright was able to get hired at Valewood is because his cousin was the owner of the facility. Figures nepotism makes the world go round. Oh, and Angus Cartwright was also known to be a collector of old occult books. He had a few there that were even worth a good bit of money. I found a picture of him when he worked at the Gentle Nightshade Funeral Home. Doesn't look like the kind of guy who would play with dead things. I guess you just never know, do you? Brings me to the Deadpool list. It was obviously compiled by Cartwright himself. I don't think it's an accurate list. For starters, some of the names are replicated. I think it might be something he uses to communicate in some sort of way. I also think it links him to TikTok. Oh, and a fun fact about Carter Ennis. His father was an amateur watchmaker. Carter was known to carry a pocket watch that his father built for him around at all times. Lastly, I did manage to find an image of one of TikTok's infamous pocket watches that he left with each body. Time's up. Okay, now we reload the page and re-scroll down. And re-scroll down, and now we're at that was week 2, and this is not a week. There's a lot to read here. Encounter with Evil. What I'm about to recount is an experience I had between weeks 2 and 3. I encountered something hostile inside Valewood. I didn't really get much information from the presence. I still feel like, in the interest of completely documenting my stay in the sanatorium, that I should record what happened. To say the experience rattled me would be an understatement. Okay, we're going to read this for a second, but I want to take a moment to... Normally, I like to talk about these games when we finish playing them, but I think since this is a new experimental thing, I just want to talk a little bit briefly about this, because they're clearly finding their way through this format. But I think this is probably not the best way to do this. What we've done is we've got today's letter, 2 main puzzles. We've solved one of them, and now we've been dumped a huge amount of content to read, which is 80% repeating stuff that we've already been through, with 20% hidden in here, new stuff. And it's basically going back 6 weeks. It's a very odd, jarring way to structure this. Like, we want to get back and work on this week's puzzle, and we've been dumped with an overload of information, most of which is recap. It seems to be defeating the whole point of having this periodic serialized story. It would make more sense if we got to read these piecewise while we were playing the game. Like, it would make much more sense if we had access to this blog while we were playing, and each week we could read one more entry. Break it up. Instead, we've now been socked with this huge wall of reading, which mostly is stuff that's long past. It's just a weird it's sort of really messed with the flow of this game. And we can't not read this now because we don't know if we need it to solve something. Plus, it's a little unpleasant the way this site has to be navigated. It would make much more sense to unlock one blog post per week, and then it is nice that we could be able to scroll through this when we're finished to look for anything we might miss. But the fact that we're forced to now scan this multiple times now, it's not right. But all right, we're stuck here. So this is something that happened weeks and weeks ago, but he never told us about it. I was walking to my room for the evening and had been strolling the halls for maybe 10 minutes when something decided it didn't like me. I felt a spectral hand touch me, nudge me forward. I stopped and looked around, seeing nothing, yet I knew I wasn't alone. The hallway smelled like mildew and old metal, like the walls themselves were rusting from the inside out. My boots echoed down the corridor as I swept my flashlight across peeling paint and rows of empty beds. I kept my voice steady for the camera. Elijah Nicholas, Valewood Sanatorium, 11:47 p.m. If anyone is here, I'm not here to harm you. You have my attention. I felt you touch me. Is there something you want to say? Let's talk. And that's when I heard it. A scrape. Not a footstep. Not fabric brushing a wall, not even a ghostly voice. Something sharper, like claws on metal. I turned too fast, light shaking in my hand. The hallway behind me was empty, just a wheelchair, sitting crooked near the far wall. I waited, listening to my own breathing. Then I felt my forearm burn like it had been doused with gasoline and lit with a match. I sucked in a breath and rolled up my sleeve. 3 thin red lines were rising on my skin like they were being drawn from the inside out. No, I muttered, you don't get to touch me. The air turned cold enough that I could see my breath. The wheelchair at the end of the hall creaked and rotated slowly toward me, its wheels whining like they hadn't moved in years. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Closer this time. I backed toward the nurse's station, camera rolling. If you're here, tell me your name. The fluorescent fixture above me rattled. I caught movement in the cracked mirror behind the counter, a shape just over my shoulder. I froze. In the reflection, something stood inches behind me. It was tall and wrong in a way that made my stomach flip. Its arms hung too long. Its fingers ended in jagged black points. Its head tilted like its neck had snapped and never healed right. Its mouth was stretched open, not screaming, just waiting. I spun around. Nothing. Pain exploded across my back. I dropped to one knee, the breath punched out of me. I felt fabric tear. Something sharp dragged across my shoulder blades, slow and deliberate this time, like it wanted me to understand exactly what it was doing. Stop! My voice cracked. I'm not here to hurt you. A whisper brushed my ear. You're just like all the others. The words felt damp and dark and cold like breath against skin. I felt pressure behind me, something leaning in, hovering close enough that I could feel the weight of it without seeing it. Claws traced down my spine, not cutting, just testing. I scrambled forward, knocking my recorder off the desk. The wheelchair at the end of the hallway began rolling toward me on its own, slow and steady, wheels squealing with every rotation. In the mirror, the figure was there again. Closer. Its claws were lifting. I ran. Every step down that corridor felt like running through water. Scratches raked across my arms and shoulder as if invisible hands were swiping at me from both sides. My camera caught flashes of pale movement in the corners, a limb where there shouldn't be one, fingers grazing the wall beside me. Scrape, scrape, scrape. I slammed through the exit doors and into the freezing night air, not stopping until I threw myself into my car and locked the doors. For a few seconds, there was silence, just my breathing. And then I looked down at my jacket. It was shredded across the back. Blood was starting to soak through my shirt. The scratches weren't deep, but there were plenty of them. Something screeched against the glass and then was gone. The crucifix on the chain dangling from my rearview mirror swayed uncertainly. I was still alive, and the presence, whatever it was gone for now. He's like, oh, here's something I forgot to tell you about. Let me just mention it now. That was a nice scene, but it's bizarre that this is the first we're hearing of it. Okay. They are really making use of AI art here. So that was week 2.5. Now we're up to week 3. I think I'm starting to understand the feeling of isolation that Jack Torrance felt in The Shining after staying in the Overlook Hotel throughout the winter. Stephen King's The Shining. While I'm not snowed in here at Valewood, the loneliness and the lack of human contact is starting to take its toll. Jack, of course, had a wife to keep him company. I just have ghosts, not all of which are friendly. He went insane. Will I do the same? I did get some interesting results by using the Ovilus during week 3. Something caused the Ovilus to split out a bunch of different readings, listing rooms on the bottom floor of Valewood, putting my finger on the map, tracing the path. I obtained a message. I have to admit I wasn't prepared to find that book there. The implications of what it means are heavy to say the least. Based on what I learned, Valewood wasn't the cheeriest of places when it was built. To dabble with the occult on top of that seems like a recipe for disaster. I have no doubt that the sanatorium is haunted. So many tortured souls have died here that it seems a given. However, I think back to that presence that attacked me. I wonder if this might have been brought here by the owner of that spell book. But to what end? I've taken precautions against that sort of evil moving forward. I hope that that's my only exposure to that level of darkness. We had to gain access to Franklin Bett's computer. In order to do that, we had to learn how to synthesize NeuroQuell using the directions he left behind. The NeuroQuell drug is at the heart of this mystery. I'm sure of it. I've read that it was developed for coma patients, but I've also seen where it worked as an antipsychotic. Based on the rushed nature of the trials, I am not so sure that this drug didn't have multiple applications, and Valewood was ground zero for human trials to see just how many maladies it could cure, or at least improve. Basically, in order to satisfy all the requirements for each of the components for the NeuroQuell drug, here is my way this all works out. Okay, so more, again, recaps of solutions we've already found. This means the computer password is blank. Then we got to Nancy's note. According to what she tells us, the codebreaker's ghost's full name is the key. The name is found on the Deadpool sheet of names for mailing 2. If we take only the columns on the back of our notes where the top letter spelled his full name, we get this message. I take that to refer to anyone who is female, given that women have XX chromosomes. I don't remember what that's all about. Next, I did a little searching for our codebreaker ghost. I found a picture of him back in his glory days. See below. Arlo seems like a guy that fights for the right things and is someone you want in your corner. He's been very helpful thus far. I have no reason to doubt he won't pop up again at some point. To say that he's an American hero is an understatement, both for his service in World War II and for his help solving this series of murders and unraveling this mystery. Nancy, of course, also gives us another piece of her cipher. At this point, we have about half of the alphabet. I also sent a list of the first 7 victims murdered by TikTok. I can safely say at this point that Frederick Leclerc, Carter Ennis, Franklin Betts all knew everyone on the victims list. As nearly as I can tell, Leclerc had a tattoo. Franklin Betts did not, although he knew the symbol was a form of protection, I think. Okay. Again, now we scroll down, let them load. Go back. Now we're at this next reading. I mean, settle in. There's a lot to read here. Behind the scenes, how to pack like a ghost hunter. In case you might be wondering, here's a partial list of what I brought along from my 3 weeks at Vailwood. Here's his equipment. Okay, big, long, giant list of equipment. Books, deck of cards, printed photos of family and friends, emergency exit plan. Okay. I think they're using some AI for this, but we don't, that's fine. I don't see, that doesn't seem to have been not relevant to us. Okay, getting to know our victims more. I've compiled some interesting facts about each of the murder victims. I don't know if any of this is useful or if these facts simply add some humanity to these poor victims, but I thought I should share what I learned. Okay, this is interesting. Let's see. Harold Minton. He was an amateur beekeeper, produced small batches of honey every summer, which he labeled with handwritten botanical notes like clover Eastfield or wildflower late bloom. Evelyn Cross had perfect pitch, could identify musical notes without any reference tone. She once corrected a hospital piano that had been tuned slightly flat. Marcus Bell, he was obsessed with cooking competition shows, hosted elaborate themed dinner parties for his friends, despite claiming he could barely boil pasta at work. These don't seem like they're important for us, but I guess we'll keep going. 4. Dr. Lillian Shore. She ran marathons in 3 different states, kept every race bib pinned to a corkboard in her home office. Samuel Price. He collected antique postcards from cities he had never visited, carefully researched the buildings pictured on each one. Nurse Andrea Holt. She had a small balcony garden filled entirely with herbs and refused to grow flowers because she said everything in a pot should be useful. Dr. Leonard Weiss, he once appeared as a contestant on a regional trivia game show in the 1980s and won a year's supply of frozen lasagna. Janet Wilkins, the last victim, she was an avid concert goer and had attended more than 150 concerts in her lifetime. These seem all irrelevant to us. Week 5, we're almost caught up here. Time flies when you're hunting ghosts, eh? So of all the things I expected to find in week 4, it wasn't... Yes, this is a spoiler. What does it say? It wasn't the bodies of Nancy's 3 friends. I spent a lot of time over the last week thinking about all that and why someone would do all of that. It doesn't seem to match TikTok's MO. Of course, that doesn't mean anything. It's just more of an observation. I mean, that is a good point. That we've got 3 of Nancy's friends killed, but not in the way the serial killer normally kills people. Obviously, after that sort of revelation, I had to try to establish contact with the 3 spirits. Fortunately, they all had objects included with their remains that I could use as trigger objects. I focused on the string of letters I got from Kate. This is just a recap of the stuff we did. Wouldn't you know it, once I went back to where they were directed during the Ouija board session and looked at one specific photo with my magnifier, I saw locker combination written on one of the walls. I had already found Janet's locker number from some admin records. From there, I just needed to use the numbers I found to open it. The final thing was to determine the final meals that Peter Poe prepared for all the TikTok's victims. He knew what was going on. I'm not sure he wasn't behind it all. He definitely had some knowledge of what was happening behind the scenes. And what about the Black Ledger file? What is that all about? Anyway, Peter Poe gave us the password based on what meal he had. Now have to find. This is all recap. All recap. Okay, here's week 6. Did we already read this? Yes, okay, here's where we left off when we were reading it in the other direction. So that's it. That's our complete recap with some extra information. All right, I'm not a fan of this format, but we did learn some more information. Now we can get back to our game. Let's go ahead and scratch off this thing and try not to make too much of a mess here. So we're told that this fell off the wall and this was behind it. So there it is scratched off, and there is nothing. It's just a little bit of reflective. Is it? Any ideas? Scratch to win, and it's blank. Well, I mean, one thing that would be natural would be to see if there's some black light, and there is. Can you see that? It's a pentagram. How can I let you see that? There, you can see it there, right? So it's a little pentagram. So maybe what we'll do is we'll put this on top of it and draw it. I'm not sure I know how to draw a pentagram, but it looks like not really very helpful, is it? Okay. Now, what do you think that means? Do you think look under what and where? So we've got this, we've got this, and we've got this. All right, let's just make some observations here. First of all, this looks like English distribution of letters, and the patterns here jump out as being unusual. For example, I see a double S, a double A. It feels, and little substrings that feel like they're too much of a coincidence. And like my FRIEND, it feels to me like we've got words embedded here. This is clearly not a substitution code. It feels more like there's a message embedded here. My friend. Okay, so what's happening here is like this double S is not in it. And then I'm not sure why the R isn't in it. My friends. This looks like it's paid. P-A-I-D. Dad paid. D-A-D. And this U is getting out. So some of these letters are being removed and we're getting a message. Dad paid me. Dad paid me something, my friends. Dad paid me something. Maybe it's his friends. Paid me there's probably a logic we can use to figure out what letters to remove. Either based on this or based on this. Okay, I'm looking for a reason why this U would get removed. This also feels like www. But okay, let's deal with this first. Why do we think? It seems like we could recover most of this message just by figuring out what it's likely to say, but it'd be nice to have the logic of it. Okay, so if the TikTok is writing this, Dad paid me something, his friends, my friends, or my friend, and then what would be the next? S-A-F-E. That might be safe. Keep me safe. Me safe. What will be the word before me safe? To keep me safe, to keep me safe. Dad paid. Is it saying Dad paid my friends? Dad paid. I wonder if it's someone's name. Dad paid someone. One of our doctor's friends to keep me safe. And this whole line is unused. To keep. Probably something else. Wonder if we get anything by. Let's just see if we can look at the letters that we think are removed. U, Dad, P-A-I. T M E, paid me, or paid. Yeah, I don't know what this, I'm thinking this might be like, is there someone's name that we could, but then it seems like paid something, something is my friend, paid something, period. Friends to keep me safe. What is the logic for what letters? Jesse is solving this the hard way. This is definitely not from Nancy. Nancy has a substitution code. But yeah, what is our theory about? Is it a line like this is out, this is out, this is out, but we think the K is in, and we think this E is in. So I wonder if we marked the letters that we think are out, we would see a pattern. Paid, like these two are out. Look at this, like symmetric. Dad paid. So look, this is out, this is out. It's going to be symmetric, isn't it? Let's look at friend. Yeah, so this is out. This is out. Probably this is out. And then it's going to go to, these are out. Okay, so we're basically getting some sort of cross here. Be easier if we could it would certainly be easier if we could scan and make a copy of it, but maybe we can use these removable stickers. So I claim that it looks like this, which probably means that these are out on this diagonal. And then I am claiming that this is probably to keep, so if I'm saying this one is out, and if it's symmetric, that means this one is out. And that makes friend, and this is out. But that doesn't work, does it? Friend. His friends. But then this Y would have to be out too. Is it not symmetric? It sure seems like it should be symmetric. To keep me safe. That means this is out and this is out. I don't know about this though. Dad paid me. Dad paid. Maybe it's not symmetrical. His friend. It's weird because it sure seems symmetrical. But clearly this has got to be kicked out here. Is it this that we're looking at? Like this? It's sort of this shape, huh? Dad paid me, and then something his friends to keep paid. What? This is off to paid his friends. All of this is out then, you think? Dad paid his friends to keep me safe. So is it that this whole line is out? And it just says Dad paid. This whole thing is out? Dad paid his friends to keep me safe. There has to be some logic to this. You think this is from Nancy, but not using her code. Do we think there's nothing being said here? What is the logic of this? Do we care about the letters that are crossed out? I don't really understand. I can see what the message should say, but I don't really understand. Is it shining through? Not really. Melissa says I can make a suggestion when you're ready. I think I'm ready. Go right ahead. Go right ahead. What is your suggestion for the logic for this? We still haven't done this part yet. Maybe they're related. Maybe don't make a suggestion. It's probably too late. You've probably already written your suggestion, but maybe we'll work on this first. It almost looks like it's this. So maybe like this line here is crossing out this whole line, but it's not because we need the his. And we need this crossed out. So I don't really get it, but all right, let's work on this for a second. So this is just a message. And then what are we supposed to do with this? And we think this is clearly related to one or the other side. Is there anything written here in the blue light? No, black light. All right, what do we got here? Then let's think about it. I mean, I already see 3 W's. That makes me think that it's related to that. Like it's a website, but we don't need a website. We just need a look under what and where. All right, well, rather than try to solve it for a second, let's look at this. This does not look like English text. However, if it is from Nancy, as everyone is guessing, then what seems like we would want is Nancy's code, which we have been filling out slowly here. So here is Nancy's cipher. So let's see. If we assume that this is Nancy writing in code, the black is the plain text, the red is the code. So if this is in code, we want to go from red to black. So K would be a G. Maybe we'll try to write it as we see it. K would be a G. Then the W's we don't know, but can only be a few letters. We've only got a few letters left. G goes to N. D goes to U. Z goes to we don't know. Q is a D. T is an O. J is an R. A is an S. This looks like we're getting something. T goes to E. H is an A. O is a T. T is an E. K goes to L. I guess we might want to try this in the other direction as well. This seems like it could be English, but it's not jumping out. E, R is a V, T is an E, Z is an N, X is an I, Z. I thought the T was an E. N, I, N. 11, 9. Okay, so these are numbers. ELEVEN, 11. Not numbers strictly, but let's keep decoding. I think we're on the right track here. H turns into an A. D turns into a U. Q turns into a D. X turns into an I. O turns into a T. W turns into an O. And I've fucked something up here. Why have I fucked something up? Because it's not, I haven't fucked it up. It's just not lined up properly with this last row. A, U, D, I, T, O. W goes into an O. Okay. J turns into an R. I, U. Okay. So this is clearly auditorium. In 11. Seat 11 in the auditorium. Okay, so seat 11 in the auditorium. So that's look under what and where. So we have solved it. What would be these other letters? Go in. This could say or seat 11 in auditorium, but what would be, I guess we don't have to just guess randomly. We've got 3 letters we don't know how to decode. And that is the W but Z we do know. W we don't know. G turned into K. What have I done something wrong here? G turns into a K. D turns into a U. And Z turns into an N. And K turns into an L. What? I don't understand how I mess these things up so much. Okay, so this is look under. Well, you guys must have been panicking when I started doing some of these wrong. Okay, so look under. So the one we didn't know how to do. It wasn't the W. It was the, I guess we knew how to do all of them. So look, UNDER. Look under seat 11 in the auditorium. Now let's see the chat. He's getting caution, Jesse, wrong way. Somebody stop him. He's getting some right and some wrong. Well, he's switching direction randomly. Maybe he'll get it in the end. I did it 90% right. It's just I messed up. I start changing a couple here. Okay, look under seat 11 in the auditorium. This is a good tip, though. Frequently, when we work on codes, I'll start decrypting a couple letters and it won't look like anything, and I'll stop. And one little tip, if you're working on codes, like keep going, because it may be that you'll convince yourself that it's basically right if you keep going a bit. All right, then the chat said, is the other side scratchable? You might think that this looks scratchable, but it's not. What? It's not scratchable. It's not the silver, it's just this. And I guess that's about right. It seems like this is probably telling us what to strike through here. Just not quite. All right, but we have solved enough of this to put it in. Look under seat 11 in the auditorium. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve this. What do you want to look under? 2 words, no caps, no spaces. I guess it just wants us to type seat 11, right? Seat 11. And where do you search? Okay. Well, I guess now we back up and say the auditorium. Okay. What? Battery doesn't want to work? Yeah, it's just... Let's try again. All right. And now we have to convince this to let us type. It looks like a bug. It's not letting me type. What is going on? Do we dare reload? Now it lets me type. All right, we've solved it. Let's see what we're gonna get. Looks like maybe there's some website issues. I was right about the eye chart. I knew that was Nancy's doing. That girl of yours is smart. I'll give her that. Her message led me to seat 11 in the auditorium. Sure enough, she had a sheet taped to the underside of the seat. What she says in her notes turns everything upside down about what we thought we knew concerning the suspects list. I thought some of the facts we had learned had eliminated at least a few of the ones on Eleanor Cross's list of people who she thought wanted her dead. But that may not be the case. See for yourself. Okay, she says. So your eyes must be in pretty good shape since you figured out where to find this. I've learned something new after digging into my mother's records a bit more. She had issues. She suffered from delusions. The line between fiction and reality for her was blurry at best. She definitely needed to be institutionalized. Why do I say that? Well, early on, I left a fact about TikTok that I thought referred to the killer's age. However, I have revised my stance on that after finding some notes about my mother's sessions. Apparently, just before she was killed, my mother was reading Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, and her delusions were a reflection of that. She kept talking to someone that she referred to as the March Hare, which is a character from the book. I think she was imagining this character as an actual person here at Valewood. One session in particular stood out to me, however, that I think relates to this case and to what my mother knew about TikTok. Dr. Andrews, my mother's Valewood shrink, noted she had a fascination with Rule 42 from the Alice book. If you aren't aware, Rule 42 in the book is declared by the King of Hearts and states all persons a mile high to leave the court. Now, you may wonder why I think that applies to this mystery. Also included in the patient notes was a list that my mother had made. Apparently, her handwritten note is on the other side of this. My interpretation of this is that less than 42 refers to those who are less than a mile high, according to my mother. And yes, I realized the absurdity of what I just said. As I mentioned, her mind wasn't good at that point. On another note, I found out what my friends were up to. I left a clue under the scratch-off. It may look blank, but I assure you it isn't. On the back of the eye chart, draw the shape from the scratch-off using each letter of the following words as one of the points. Note, you will do this 4 separate times. Museum, stress, threat, escape. Everything that's left that your lines didn't touch will tell you what I learned. Okay, so we figured out how to decode that, but this is giving the message, but she is giving us the message for the back of the sheet. Now, what is she actually telling us to do? She's saying the back of the scratch-off has the pentagram. And she says, draw the shape from the scratch-off using each letter of the following words. So we've got a pentagram. So, but some of these words have, no, they all have 6. 4 separate times. So she's telling us, draw the shape from the scratch-off using each letter of the following words as one of the points 4 separate times. That's weird. That's a weird set of instructions. All right, let's see if we can understand what she's saying. Even though we don't need to, because we figured it out. But I'm sort of curious what this convoluted instruction is. It says, take the word museum M. What is this nonsense? All right, I guess it's telling us find all M-U-S. M-U. Maybe this S? S. M-U-S. What E should we be taking? I don't get it. I don't get it. Draw the shape of the scratch off, which is the shape of a pentagram, and it wants us to draw that 5 times on top of this, 4 times on top of this, and then we're going to be crossing out things, and we figured out what we should mostly cross out. I mean, M-U, but there's a bunch of different S's. And there's only one U? So that's going twice? This seems very unpleasant to me. Any thoughts on how this is really supposed to work? Like let's just do museum. Here's M. And then there's our only U. And then we've got a million S's we could choose from. I guess we're going to choose the one that we've already guessed is right. And now we need a U, but there's no more U's. Oh, there is another U here. Okay. So that's a 4. Unless that's the first U. And now we need an E. There's a million E's. Which one should we choose? And we happen to know that one of these is out. And then what? We choose another M here. This is ridiculous. Yeah, I can see through the stickers. I can see through the stickers. I just... okay, I think what we're thinking now is that we don't care. We don't care which ones. We're just crossing off all the letters in museum. No, clearly it matters which E we pick. So on what basis are we supposed to pick some S's and some E's and not others? Presumably they fit into this pattern, but each word is a mini pentagram. Yeah, it kind of seems like it would be, but boy, that is going to be hard for me to understand how to do that. Like I don't see it. It's just pretty painful. Do it like a word search in a star pattern. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, maybe you have better luck with this on your end than me, but it feels much too painful to try to do, and much easier to do it semantically. Maybe that's just my visual spatial reasoning weaknesses coming into play, but I'm not seeing it. All right, so this is what the mother had written. One of these people wants me dead, or those I fear the most here in Wonderland. Here is how I saw them after I consumed the mushroom that said eat me. It looked like a pill that said Neuraquel, but it was really a mushroom that I found when I went down the rabbit hole. Everyone changed so much. I should ask the March Hare about this. He's the only one I can trust. All facts below asserted as true by Eleanor Cross. That's the mother. Kevin Leclerc is more than a mile high. Franklin Betts is less than a mile high. Peter Poe, less than a mile high. Jenny Harper, more than a mile high. Carter Ennis, less than a mile high. Baldwin Ford, less than a mile high. Maddie Miller, more than a mile high. Garrett Arndt, less than a mile high. Okay, so we can take a screenshot of this. I mean, this is just a bizarrely overcomplicated way, it seems, of just reiterating what she said before. She said that what the mother wrote is that all persons a mile high, she wrote something that we took to be about the age. I guess she said he's under 42. Somewhere we wrote these notes out. I just want to make sure it said under 42. Not inked. Okay, so she wrote, the mother, he's under 42. And now we're being told that it's not under 42 inches or under 42 years, it's just here. So I guess we're just meant to take this these notes and copy this. Franklin Betts, Peter Poe. And this just feels like busy work. Jenny Harper, Carter Ennis, Baldwin Ford, Maddie Miller, and Garrett Arndt. And our killer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And she's just saying, okay, so Kevin Leclerc can't be him because he's not under the Rule 42. But this guy could be it. Peter Poe can't be it. Jenny Harper. Okay, let's try again. More than a mile high can't be him, but less than 42 could be him. Less than 42 could be him. More than a mile high can't be her. Carter Ennis is less than 42 rule, so it could be him. Baldwin Ford is less than 42, so it could be him. Maddie Miller can't be her. And Garrett Arndt is less than 42, so it could be here. All right, this is just an overly complicated way of telling us how the less than 42 rule goes. Okay, Melissa, sure, you want to fill us in here. Dad paid his friends to keep me safe. So maybe there's some other word we're missing here. But nope, Melissa says it was just what we guessed. Dad paid his friends to keep me safe. And then this whole line is getting crossed off by the 4 overlapping pentagram symbols. All right, well, we've solved everything. We've been on the air for 2 hours now. Let's just read the last part of this letter and we'll be done here. These are the hints if you got stuck. The eye chart. Read back through Nancy's earliest notes. Take a look what's hidden on the back page of the black notebook. What was at the back page of the black notebook was Valium. Why is that of any use to us? Is it because... I don't know. What does this have to do with Valium? Surely Nancy has left clues about what to do with this somewhere. In fact, the hint was after you solve this one. Puzzle piece 5. We may get the last one next week. Scratch off. Nancy left this, I think. Why? Vailwood Sanatorium poster. I need to figure out which 7 items from my junk food list can be given to Billy to appease him, and give them to him in order using the letters that correspond to each. See Mikey's hints. All right, well, we solved everything here. All right, so we're going to wrap up here. This was a little bit of a, I don't know what to say here. I really feel like they haven't quite gotten this firing on all cylinders. We had a couple of solvable puzzles, then an awkward dump of text to read, most of which was recap. And then this pentagram crossing out. I don't know, guys. I'm just not loving how some of the structure of this is being done. It feels like this needed a couple more iterations. The story is still engaging, but it doesn't feel like the pacing is quite right. I don't know. What do you think? Am I being too hard on it? We are at week 8. We have 4 more weeks to go. I'm curious if they'll be able to pick things up. It feels like we're not really getting new information now. We're just sort of retreading stuff. Feel like there's a little bit of stretching stuff out going on here, and I don't feel like the puzzles are up to their normal Deadbolt Mystery Society quality. Yeah. This is another example of a weird way to do a puzzle. Like, look. They've got this scratch off. All right. And we scratch it off, but we don't see anything, so we have to use the black light. It's just like adding extra steps. It seems silly, but okay. So you scratch this off, you see the black light. It's a pentagram. And it's related to this, right? So you say, okay, I've got to use the pentagram with this side or this side. You could spend 100 hours and you wouldn't be able to solve it with the pentagram. Why? Because the only way to solve it using the pentagram, you can't just use it with the pentagram. The pentagram is only part of the solution. First of all, you can solve it without using the pentagram by guessing it. But okay, leave that aside. Let's say you figured out that this thing is a pentagram. It has to be combined with this or this. So you decide, I'm going to solve it with this. Well, you could spend 100 hours. You'd never figure out. There's no way to figure out how a pentagram could be used with this. So then you eventually have to give up and try to solve this. With the pentagram, no, you solved Nancy's code. Okay, but you could figure it out. Then you read this, and then when you read this, it basically gives you instructions that you should use the pentagram to scratch out these specific words: museum, stress, threat, escape. So all of a sudden, if you do this, you get told you don't need this anymore. It's telling you, use a pentagram shape from the scratch off. It's just very odd. Like, why give the person this? Why not just say, okay, here are the instructions. Scratch off these letters in a pentagram shape. Why give us this when we can't figure out how to use this? Or you could say here in these notes, here are the words, museum, stress, threat, and now figure out how to cross those off. Then you could make the leap, oh, let's use the pentagram shape. But why tell you to use the shape on this card? Then it's no longer a puzzle. It's just not quite right. It's an idea for a puzzle, but it's not a finished good puzzle. Susanna says, I'm staying to the end of the story, but it is too long. 12 weeks is too long. Ultimately, if you just left that place a while ago and looked up who Morris Cook is, it would be done. I mean, I'm still in it for the story. I do think that they are purposely dragging it along, and the story puzzles are a little weak here. And a lot of work went into that blog, but the pacing is well off. All right, well, 2/3 down. Maybe it'll ramp up now. We'll see. We're in it for the long haul. So I'll see you next week for letter number 9. Thanks for joining me.